Anyway, honorable Akwaba.
Yeah.
Bibia boko dia. Meso me hoye. Na Valentino one fan chare kakra. Gap no su.
Sir, my sister feel say usukro usufo etumi edi na oba no. Na odwen said eh? Oh yeah, yeah, boy, Germano. One and them baby. I feel last minute our bano. Okay, to see Kananka also the year projects no a bayanyano. And Kayana would the chicha microphone. No bit media babadi abadad and crofana. Sabio, baby, I do no garden for you near be. By election, I was in North Crap, the only Kohunino, I knew how much more over here.
That's right.
And I think at the end of the day, you know, thanks be to God, people were discerning, and we're not going to be deceived.
Would you agree with a almost say wind of change, not so a play a factor, a war or victory, not so. Say no be a ariata so baby agree go for your bromo.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But I think that I suppose that fatigue in a sense reflected in the low voter turnout because in Clote College, you know, our voter turnout is usually around 70+%.
Yeah.
You know, in our elections. Now this was the lowest turnout we've had in a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And victory way no. It's now my dear mouth because at the collations, let me just say video, no.
Yeah.
And that video, say your whole screen, so I can bet me at your two screens. So that video is so significant. Your reaction, a better now share numbers, no. Tell me, they're not running through your mind at that moment. Now, what born you man now with the no. Surprise,
well, it was two things, and it was this one. It was just a Thanksgiving dance, but I think I was not unaware. Na minim say na odisika e mankro for power. And to be very honest, at a time when things are difficult, no, you never know really to what extent people will be influenced by money.
Yeah,
I mean, anyway. Yeah, I think for me, I was happy because it shows, say, you know, people can't just judge from a distance and make assumptions. Say, nipa korona or bana or this CKP and crofo funding no or they card dia banti automatically, you know, it means so be winning election. I think we are evolving.
Yeah.
And our electorate is also evolving.
Yeah.
And this election was, well, I think it was extremely tense coming into it. But if you look at the way people carried themselves, you know, I think that it was really exemplary. You know, Ghana has really by how we conducted ourselves. Yeah. And I feel, say, what we must realize and say elections is not just a single day. What happens in the aftermath of it is just as important. I think I'll use this platform first and foremost to speak to all Ghanaians. Do not allow this whole, you know, win to make you become a lawless person. There was those who have done wrong will be dealt with appropriately, but don't take the law into your hands. Otherwise, you will rather become the first victim.
But impetuousness in the free. His Excellency Victor Smith. And I don't know, just probably, I mean, any GMO now will be a film. I think.
I think what happened when MPP won power in 2016 is still very fresh on people's minds.
Wow.
And I remember, a lot of people were saying, yeah, when power, some of them will do the same thing. But at the end of the day, we are not like those people. And let's show that we are not. You know, yeah, when power, we are an incoming government.
Yeah. Which
means that we should set an example.
Yeah.
We will do the right thing. And you know, I'm just appealing, say, whether out of happiness or frustration or anger, whatever the feeling is, no, let's just restrain ourselves.
Okay.
What has to be to be done will be done. And I think that President Mahama has committed himself by saying, say, all of these things that people have done wrong will be addressed. You know, I think it's number 21 on the list of things, if I'm not mistaken. So.
I wouldn't know. On the list of 120 and normal also obey no.
Yes,
Within the first
120 days, is one of the things that he's actually mentions. You know, a lot of those things, especially to do with recruitment, all these things within the agencies.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, your presidency also, Gapa, President Mahamadima, Dr. Alaji Mahamadou Bawa, because of Dr. Denitaba, I'm saying fluency. He said, "Your mamma in mano." Dr. Alaji Mahamadou Bawumia, Shegapro. Did you expect to say Bekwasa?
To be quite honest, I think I was a bit surprised, and I think we knew we would win, but we weren't quite sure by what margin. You know, there was a low voter turnout as well, so this was as much a victory as it was also a protest vote against the NPP. And I feel say the pressure on us as NDC to perform is extremely high. Now, I think that for that reason, the grace period is also going to be shorter in the eyes of Ghanaians. And I think that the positive side, and I say, President Mahama, we the president, so this is not new. And I would hope, say, like at this point in time, based on what he said, no dear, we're going to hit the ground running. Yeah, because we don't have the luxury of time. And for him to reiterate the opposite in the next 120 days shows that commitment and readiness. And I believe, so we're not now finding our feet. I think what we may be surprised by is the extent of the rot, because these people managed their PR quite well. Inti bebia nyema enya aprokrapo no me sure say yebedi governments who the extent of it, and I really hope say President Mahama be yimu amagana for who the extent of it. Said the people will understand how much we will have to do to repair, you know, the damage that has been done, so that almost faster in Siofino and Jari.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that level of transparency, Ghana for one who said, look, this is what we have actually come to meet. Then people will have a better understanding of the extent, because there's been a lot of airbrushing and photoshopping over the years. But I think it's time to let Ghanaians understand exactly what we meet when the time comes. And I believe, say, the fact that we have an overwhelming majority of members of parliament, for me, is a bigger responsibility for us to use it positively for the people of Ghana. And I believe that, say, when it comes to the issue of power, of incumbency, your ability to be responsible and to be restrained when you have what is almost as close to absolute as it can get when it comes to your control. I think that also is important. We must be guided. We must be guided. Say, it's not business as usual. And it's not for us to come say, no. The reason Ghanaians voted them out is because Ghanaians don't want that.
And they see them also more different from Momo.
Precisely.
And you need to prove it.
That's correct.
Your Excellency, would me, Honorable Dr. Zanetor Ajima Rollins Yadrin, say, a Jumani Brenie, and in fact, said yet a normal sea question no a brainy walk. So meaning say holiday no crown puno a bear to a bear Britiawa. Would you also agree, say His Excellency Nanado Danko Kufado, Amanai and Tem Crown Mobile, ensuring say transitional committee no better or more Jumase entem?
Because we don't have much time. 1 month, to swearing, it's already, started counting.
Yeah.
Now, so Basabasana, where you see a strong very quickly, working together with the sitting government. And say, Yenka say, ye take positions, said the man for be, And for those who are listening, our supporters, it doesn't mean that we will not, look at the things that we promise we will do, when we take office. But I think just you should take it upon yourself to enter, yes, President Zaka, yes, that is not part of us. It's not our culture, and they should not adopt that old culture now. It's our government. We won't destroy to build. Like I said, Momo Modina will hold things together. I agree with her perfectly that Jumayo, and to say I see a formal transition team now immediately. We are ready. We were ready before. And once the power came, we were already on the ground.
and books now Dr. can say yembiem said be Ghana for be who proyena na ye de akado ne eduhwam express brain to adwen yo so hwi ni Ghana yeti
when the dreams are
na bi mo dwen za
over 750 billion debt
na ye PR no mo ye
na ye nim say
ye ndaboni mu
whatever we can take back for the people of Ghana we will take back.
Okay.
And it should be a lesson to other future government and our own government that would deep Bonia will come back. The people of Ghana will come back for you. It be not happen to Sankofui. They were even saying that they had won the election even before the election.
Yeah.
Somebody from that Jubilee House told me, say, in Komomudi or say, Abandi are 2 years ago. Me 117 buy. Let me see who to the 2 Abani. I'm not play the Biama.
Yeah.
This is what they get. This is the punishment God has given them.
But Sadia ya no more can say ya 2 Abani, you know. And dining where the collation centers I would walk. Any police stations I would want na asraf wa ni so mu ba ekokoko ho honorable and then wedi
let me say it did because at the end of the day yenim say you win and lose elections no at the polling station and collation centers no we made sure say their course no it wasn't just a case of the polling agents a limited number of people. We opened it up obia obeko bia be vigilant. And we made sure, so at the time of counting, Obia Beye no paparazzi, everybody was there with their phones, filming everything. Because now everything is happening in real time. That's yes, right. We digitized the election.
You what?
No, honestly, I think, sir, we've come a long way in terms of our appreciation of the importance of doing things right at the polling station. And I think we got it right this time. Now, Faye, with the level of commitment that we had from our people, it really made the difference because Ghana 4 had their eye on the NDC to do the right thing. Every time I ever call around during a campaign, the message we kept hearing consistently, it was 2 things. In fact, it was 3. 1, make sure you protect the votes after we've queued to actually cast our votes. Number 1. The second one was that dealing with the issues, like cleaning house. And number 3, if we don't know and we repeat what these people have done, they'll come after us. So the message from the public was very clear. And I believe we will abide by what we've promised to do. We've done the first already. I got 2 others.
Which is protecting their votes.
We've done that part. We've made sure that the voice of the people has prevailed. And the Akano is to make sure we deal with the rot that has been left for us and making sure we live up to the highest standards.
But even the first one, Amafosa, as we speak in Ashanti region and other parts of the country, even in Greater Accra, votes in Ipiwawa, NDC coalition Chesome winning, NPP air contested, even though was some parts of money. Pink sheet, there are instances that easy say the pink sheet in your vandalize your say no. There were even instances where I have for no north. I say presiding officer no ye bedwa no che no call baby ye huru baby or how will all this come to an end be new to the benefit of the NDC honorable?
I believe, sir, the electoral commissioner, once I announce the outcome of elections, she must prevail upon her staff to do the right thing. Because at the end of the day, all of us are subject to the law. And if as a member of the electoral commission, there's something you're meant to do and you're not doing it, there are regulations which guide your work. And one of said they can just come and abduct people. Should think again. If there was a time when we were living in a lawless country, we intend to pull the reins back on that. And we are reiterating, so we NDC ni ampa, we succeed. Stop vandalizing anything.
That's right.
Stop being lawless. Let's allow the law to take its course with those who have committed the crimes. Don't allow yourself to be the first victim of our victory. I believe, I think that cool heads will prevail in those particular areas, And now that the bulk of results abano, I think we need to focus our eyes on those particular areas and make sure the right thing is done.
Yeah, Your Excellency, also say, I mean, in areas abandoning suits and so on, you go to a contested. At the end, was a NDC, yes, said a send your motion anymore, a baby dimafa, because Parliament today, the Magia farmer is a graduate. minority in Baba needle. I don't know what to call them. Needle minority, and I said, yeah.
No, because during the election proper, no, you know, there's certain things happen that about some constituencies. Okay, you cannot just overturn the outcome of the elections just because you've lost that thing. You are trying to claw back some of the seats, and some way. Something happened in Abuakwa North. I happened to be there, you know, and the candidate, the MPP candidate, and then in Crawford, what they were trying to do to go to some polling stations, you know, while the voting was taking place towards the end, around 4:30, to try and put ballot papers. But said I'm not for any brainer. I think they just calculation number to Kano. There was a pickup with some heavy guys in it, and they were carrying ballot boxes. Eventually, they were confronted by some of our people. You know, there was a shootout. 2 people were hit. 1 has died. But it hasn't come out. I was only told this morning that one of them died.
So making the number of people who died, no?
Yeah, what were their guns?
Within the regions of 5.
What were their guns about these things? And then eventually they took off the ballot boxes. They've been to meet a rescue. These are ballot boxes with the papers, but it's not the genuine ones. So they were stuffing places. And they almost stampeding Crawford, gidi bahwana, as the alpha ballot box. Then eventually police will retrieve it, but they would have swapped it already. You know, that's the kind of game they were trying to play. But it was difficult for them. Nipa go around 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
International who quiet stampede now. So they back off. The resultant effect is that 1 point something million they beat to win. They wanted to even put more in the ballot just for Bawumia to win.
Wow.
So Omoka said, these were the things they were trying to do, and now almost says from.
Yeah.
They've accepted it.
Yeah.
Nankaida more try say more bet over 10 parliamentary ones in the AMA he cry. I hear LB writers.
Yeah, she's one.
Yeah, they were trying to take it. They said that man go there the YNBB or that man Abuja Napo. Our guys, you know, just sit down there and allow within Chimi and Sasa. You know, they are they want to bring us down, but 184 is 2/3. That's what they don't want us to have. They want to bring it below to 200, 184. They won't succeed.
And for you as a member of parliament, you know, I mean, what else can be done? Say, look, because the name of the game is evidence. Pink sheet, you know, say a casamamu. And here are instances in some of the parts, in some parts of Ghana, no. Easy official, they say pink sheet, no, no, no. Yeah, but she not say anything on what.
But pink sheet no will duplicate. Into a day now.
Duplication also. NDC will be, MPP will be.
Precisely.
Omumia no nyina so omonjo mo e ni ntum. Where's the MPP di ntum? Where's the NDC di ntum?
Na so now woman in Rani.
And this is an Ashanti region.
Yes. You know, as I was saying earlier on, I think at the end of the day, you know, we really need to be a little bit more careful about this. I think in 2020 we saw what happened. Initially, na enim say ya winning seats be a share no na gidi abana. Next thing you knew, the number of seats had actually gone down. I think we must not allow this to keep happening. It's a dent on our democracy and our reputation as a country. You know, people should stop putting their selfish ahead of the country's peace, stability, and our democratic evolution.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I think that we really need to look at it. And the person who is saying send a pink sheet national, I think must also be held responsible. When I say electoral of a POB edit in a pink sheet coffee, what do you mean you're taking it home? You're meant to go to the collation center. And people like that should be held responsible and should be held to account. Said your next time no so offer a juma say woko electoral commission a juma, whether it's as a presiding officer or returning officer or whatever the case may be, you should understand that you will be subject to some kind of disciplinary or sanction actions or sanctions, knowing very well said the job you're doing, you're not doing it there to protect a party. Because it has
beyond electoral ESC and also.
Yes.
It's also the case of Nkovua. As a result of Basa, you are also collation centers. Ne Obikra, or your member, Sabre, one on a member of parliament. You said that target and say, one of your body to your. I'm talking about now, what Utu Senya is Empress also. She had to hide.
It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable, and I think at this point, what I would actually do is I would actually call on the IGP to do the needful. You know, we've heard him issue statements. We've heard them deploying people to all sorts of situations. This is also an important time for that to be done. Because Yenim say when it comes to election violence is pre, during, and post. And the post, until we have all the results in, we are still in that post-election period where potentially things can happen. And I believe that if, to avoid a dent on his, record regarding how this election was presided over, I feel say he needs to actually also be up and doing. Yeah.
And William, your case is Emma, the way ECOWAS, African Union, mission, IGP Nejuma. No more born about some more press conference. In spite of some more kickers and no maybe CC Ankoye, but no man to IGP for. And yet, well, he's a diplomat. Now he was no. At the end of Emma, Obia, 1 year team when we near all barber share about was so. Ever conclude in that manner.
Well, the IGP was the head of the election security task force.
Yes.
So we all understood that he was responsible. And to be honest with you, some of the skirmishes compared to what has happened in the past, one would say it was a good in spite of those little ones that we had. Again, we're all looking out for a possibility. They see Wayawa so West Wogono. Say whether they're going to bring any of these Azugu boys and things to come and misbehave there. So people that are ready for them. And I'm sure even if they came, they drove there, they saw that Usi Foma and Rasam Kesebetu. Who can't be quite soldier named Kuye. Because he didn't believe he was a professional soldier. And if you are trying to enter the polling station, we had all read the statement from the CDS officer. No soldier should enter a polling station. So if you're going to go there, that means you are fake. But you're not a professional. But I'm saying that you uniform, let's say you're not a proper soldier. I mean, if you didn't take the orders of the CDS, then you may be a fake one. So then it became a fight. Unfortunately, no uniform, let's say if it's a proper uniform, that is the Ghana Armed Forces, if you go and hit a policeman or hit a soldier, for me, it shouldn't happen because they are wearing the crown. What I say. But who assessing the Juma, he didn't do badly, in my estimation. But right now, we have a job to do.
So you agree with the ECOWAS AU mission?
In a way. But they were observing. No, they were observing. But we have 41,000 polling stations.
Yes.
The places we are in your police immigration fire service prison officer what can they do without any weapon? And also if I go in, let's be that Bawumia. No, you don't know. It will be trim. Will be our person. We are election person. Sebio. Now if you not scuff about one person, what could you do before you call for reinforcement? As a nation, Electoral Commission gave even a number. I called the number at one point and made some complaints. What I say, and the American say, we didn't get it perfect. Nipa say will be but of course some people were trying to stampede the elections. With the ballot paper and them you. Pieces maybe an idea in a party, to force and put ballot papers in the ballot box, and that wasn't going to happen this time round. Of course, then it would tend to a fight. And to say, it shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. But if you are near a Jumani, say IGP and Bono or tax force, security, maybe we would have ended up killing more people than we have ever done in our elections.
Honorable, and for the families, Ebia Sabre cry omutie ehwe I get it, but justice.
Oh, I don't think us saying we had an overall peaceful election means that there won't be justice for those bereaved. And I think it's not just for those that were killed in this election, but in the previous election as well, where we're still waiting for the outcome of all these inquiries and so on and so forth. I think that for if you've lost someone, before without having that justice or closure, it's difficult to move on. And I think that this is something that the NDC has continued to say a idea that has to be looked into. And for that, no, I believe that we will do the right thing. But in the meantime, no, I think when it comes to election observation, no, you can only make comments with regards to what you have seen.
Yeah.
And normally the reports that they present are based on baby awomokoye.
That's right.
Yes. And you can make a general overview, say in general, no say you observed or you heard, there were reports of, and then based on that, no, they come up with their conclusion. The thing with the reports of an election observer team as well is it's always how to make it as diplomatic as possible as well. There's always that struggle.
Oh,
yeah.
What was the kind of pain?
Oh, I think that's always the tricky part when it comes to the reports that are released by the election observer teams. The other thing as well is reports. No, there's the immediate one, and then the one that comes up much later, which is a more detailed one, and maybe the more detailed one, which would be covering some of the area post election, will include some of these other issues, because ultimately the intent behind the election observation is for the highest standards to be observed, and for recommendations to be made to the host country to improve upon what was perceived as perhaps weaknesses or lapses in what could have been done better.
Okay. Yeah, remember transitional period, me any expectation. But collect and persuasion. Now some analysis be. We hear I know say His Excellency Victor Smith also be say in this analysis, because social resource from what do you free from 2016 ABC 2024 elections here. And let me just help with this data for collect parliamentary elections comparative analysis. 2016 elections, now polling stations are yet 2 about 171. Total of the wards 9. And Honorable Zanetor, we need 98 polling stations, while MPP no winning 73 polling stations. And Honorable Zanetor Ajima Rollins, we need 5 wards, and MPP winning 4 wards. And in terms of votes, Honorable Zanetor receive 33,609, while the MPP candidate 29,112. So clearly, Honorable Zanetor Ajima Rollins, we need that 2016 about one with a vote difference of 4,497. I'm sure and I can see say okay 2016. 2020 no so say na koye. Total polling stations 224, total wards 11. Honorable Uwini 167 polling stations, while MPP Zuwini 57 polling stations, and this is in 2020. And I feel so Honorable Zanetor we need 10 wards, MPP we need 1 in 2020. So Honorable Zanetor Ajima Rollins receive 39,113 votes, and MPP candidate Rosunya 31,239, pretty close for a year 2020 Abano. But Honorable Zanetor Ajima Rollins we need parliamentary elections with a difference of 7,874. Now the almighty 2024 total polling stations 229, total wards 11. Honorable Zanetor Ajima Rollins we need 205 polling stations, whilst Valentina on one per Valentine a year 24 polling stations. Honorable Zanetor Ajima Rollins we need 11 wards. Wards na
electoral areas na wards.
Electoral areas, yes. When you back this year, when you 0, when you shake. And when you Honorable Zanetor receive 39,997 votes, while Valentino Zunya 23,760. Your Excellency, we are Honorable Zanetor runs a chinimu. So meaning that 2024 about to ya abana we ya honorable winning no. Odi nisum kunim with a difference of 16,281 and for toto. In Vienna, best at one
point, we even saying she had lost. You know they put off.
Yeah, they did. That's why we had to quickly. But the certified votes by the EC was the vote difference that was quite
much higher.
huge. Yeah.
Much higher than 16,000.
Yeah, it was 16,000. But yeah. Yes, I remember. So by the time Sani Pakrono, I think it was part of an orchestrated plan. Yeah. In some areas, now one more day ballot boxes, stuff in our area. No, we were so vigilant. The idea, I suspect, was that they would say Meluzi, and in the midst of all of that, then they do whatever they wanted to do. But by then, no. Time news no breaking,
people are jubilating here.
But we had already collated over 80% of the results, so we knew we had won. It's a honoma now. We released our provisional because we realized now as a one more day plan just to mess about, create some kind of chaos as a distraction, and possibly now one more vote. They were celebrating while we had spent the last 5 or so hours sitting down and taking down all our results. Yes. And see, at the time when some people were celebrating that they'd won some, I don't know, invisible, now we had our actual figures that we were working with.
Okay. Now, trajectory of events, from 2016 BC this year, a dear story net early.
Oh, and a lot of hard work. Honestly, I think we must have covered over 95% of the constituency on foot. And see, I think I recently checked the number of kilometers we did on one of my phones or said, I think we must have done about 700 kilometers.
What?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I mean, on some days we were doing an average about 3 hours.
Wow.
3 hours every time. And just making sure we're speaking to everybody.
Wow.
We went to the campuses, we went to the clinics, we went to neighborhoods, we even went into houses where they said, if you're MP4, we spoke to everyone. Because at the end of the day, you don't tag people and say, Nipa, we're on tomorrow. To be very honest, we actually spoke to people who were hardcore NPP who said this year they were going to vote for Mahama and myself. Because that's how frustrated and fed up they were.
And were there lessons I will pick it from previous elections, Nana?
In terms of
approach 2024.
No. When it comes to the legwork, we always do that. You never sit at home and assume, or be better about Amal just for the sake of it. You need to engage people. Ultimately, and sometimes say. So you realize that it's important to engage people. There are certain issues where people are frustrated, and then you actually explain to them, say, adeya esino and get MP juma eya binanka so enka wom say wom yes juma wom anye inti to abama ye na yembe ye de yetimi ye edifasa de no. For example, the roads. But ye kwan no we say nyamia, it's from the ministry. You understand? So vote for us to come into power and let's do it. Because baby, I school, I said that comes from the government policy. And it comes from, you need a government that's going to create a favorable environment that will allow companies to invest, that will allow for foreign direct investment, because a lot of investors put everything on hold. Now one more train the ABC election and beyond that, what NDC will put in place to stabilize the economy and clean up house. To give them that confidence, say, one more banner, they invest in Ghana, it's not going to be at a loss. And see, a lot of things went into this election, and I think ultimately the people realized, I suppose, that there was somebody who was more genuine and more authentic in terms of willing to serve, and not just for the sake of maybe DMP.
What about the Rollins factor?
I won't throw that away. It's part of my heritage, and I won't throw that away. But at the end of the day, your name can only get you so far, and you have to do your part. Yes. Yeah.
Your Excellency, also who do you see what colloquial say? I mean, trajectory of events,
Well, we can say Zanetor has been very visible, increasingly visible in the constituency, you know. So it do stage, you know, first name was ne papa ntina be a man for the tomano, but herself, she has become very visible on the political, you know, landscape. It's not surprising that it has increased consistently, and with the figures you are calling,
yeah,
I'm sure if she continues to want to be an MP for Akole Clotina, maybe time will come out, she might get about 98% of the votes.
Yes, meaning the only contest in one when you be zero.
You know,
I mean, look at one of the electoral areas, you know, zero. Valentine.
Yeah.
So
your friend is
St. Valentino, St. Valentine, quarantine.
Quarantine.
For the quarantine, almost all of worry.
Any time Ghana, any time we have a job to do for people of Ghana.
That's true.
That is why we are all, you know, in politics. Some people may go for a different reason, but this time round, Ghana for shares, you know, they can be quiet, but they will make that decision.
So that's just a no be a quantity per se or come with the fee.
No, I mean, you should go serious. You must be committed to seeing Ghana progress. You must be committed to see others to progress in their lives. That is why the people have given us the mandate. These people, a current crop of MPP leaders,
yeah,
Ghana for anger so be kind of otu for kind
come here before
near the two we before because say to me sika will be them for $5 million then you can imagine what other senior people had in their homes.
Yep.
So it was like nobody is here then you are going to
right.
you know, they ask questions. You put the FES agents, the trumpets, meanwhile no, they pay more money. Some people are paying more money on other things eventually because I prefer that than to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
These are some of the things that a buffon a woman but it's a lesson to all of us.
Yeah, but I did be what I can in your co-parliament near about transition. You know what I can say. Well, Obama said they will come. Numbers in the so great in parliament. Umbet so dear friend. Even Mampeninos to say the cost UK no. So me in Sembiano.
Almost say we don't have that type of system, prime minister, but I think we should be able to change the constitution. The leader should come and answer questions in the house because we are representing the people. Yeah. So if we cannot have a direct unless once a year, no Ababa Kasa, no call, and ministers pay the answer question. The man himself, whoever the leader is, whether it's John Mahama, you should come to the house and address issues or answer questions. If they were doing those things, people will sit up.
Doc.
That's my opinion.
It's a tricky area, but sorry I'm doing this to you. What do you agree? Say what do you
I think to an extent. That should be the case. I believe, say, we've created this kind of a system that almost creates this kind of a cushioned situation around these leaders, and unfortunately, most of the time, no, the appointees. One more executing the mandate of the president, no, don't suffer the same extent of anger as the members of parliament do.
That's right.
And for some reason, the members of parliament seem to get the brunt of people's anger all the time. And half the time, Nipa Krono getting angry with their roads, and you say, you know, there's a roads and highways minister. The dredging hasn't been done. There is a works and housing minister. But now, MPs now, because the people feel, say, "Wona yeto abamao." You understand? And so that kind of anger is directed. So we must also let them feel the heat. And this business of, I have situations where there have been questions I've been wanting to ask certain ministers, and the questions remained unanswered for 4 years.
Wow.
You know, and there's always this political game that's being played. You know, when it comes to, we won't talk about it because we haven't worked on it. They will go and do something, then he'll come and answer the question based on the Omaye. Meanwhile, the question has been pending for 3 years.
Wow.
You know, for example. I think that we need to look at how we do things differently. Are we doing it for the sake of ceremony, or do we truly want Ghanaians to have that level of transparency and accountability that they deserve? And further to that, what are the actions or sanctions that are put in place? Because so for example, with Public Accounts Committee, for example, you have all the agencies, the ministers and everything, they come before the Public Accounts Committee. But who say ministry B, some money was not spent as it should have been, it was misappropriated or something. At the end of the day, there isn't that binding aspect of things at Parliament. So these are the recommendations of Parliament. And then guess what? The person who is now in trouble, no, is the one who decides whether or not they will do something about it. We need to look at the system a little bit differently, so that when we come out with findings that say when way na esi no, that political will, beyond that, no, there's a system in place that says this and this and this has to be done. But if you have a situation where, for example, the whole concept of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, you know, should be decoupled. And if you look at what happened with the special prosecutor thing, which became an annex to the Attorney General,
that's right.
It means that the government can decide we won't deal with this issue, and then it dies. You know, and I think that we really need to look at things from the point of view of what. Okay, sometimes no, I bear to say, obi wo opposition more or say. I was say
yeah.
So bedi power mo say I dey yenja na sa because I say fine.
Power can be tricky.
Power. But with that level of responsibility and knowing what we have seen over the years, I will say if I and say, listen, what is in the best interest of Ghanaians when it comes to good governance and pillars of good governance, including accountability and integrity, transparency, all these other things that make sure, say, what you are doing as a representative of the people is in the best interest of the people, is cost effective, is timely, and it's not a case of you have the power into the opposite or you know now you know
but you bet me GDA or more NDC MPs more because look madam in opposition as minority. Now we hold you bind to account more to two questions more today more work out and no maybe I'm money nyadra but dying a ditch Ghana for say more absolute majority to the sense that people shall say nickname President Mahama say supremo leader. Absolute majority. Can we trust you to hold yourself to account?
Well, some of us will definitely be doing so. But I believe that as a collective, based on what President Mahama himself has said, I think there will be no wriggle room for that kind of misbehaving. But I think that the people of Ghana must not go to sleep. We need to have citizenry that is fully engaged.